You mentioned earlier the pandemic, both shining a spotlight and being a forcing function to make a lot more progress in some of these areas. Particularly, you mentioned schools and kids that, when school went virtual, and if you didn't have broadband, you didn't have school. I'm curious to hear from you what you and your team have deployed to provide connectivity to students, because of the pandemic. Technologies that you've deployed to potentially to workers. I know you did a lot of work in the state of Washington helping to facilitate remote work when people couldn't go into the office. How many of these technologies that were pandemic, that were forcing functions from the pandemic that were deployed, how many of these technologies and capabilities do you think are going to remain in North Carolina and be leveraged in North Carolina post-pandemic?
I think they are going to be, to be honest, because we made that investment in them already. So why would we not leverage the investments that we have already put in place to help us facilitating and continue to move forward? But the point you brought up the point about online education, and as our children were forced to get educated online at home, besides connectivity, the other problem in that equation was around devices. So again, as we go back to the bigger plan around accessibility, affordability, and literacy and enablement. We also need to make sure that we have the right devices that can connect to the internet that provides that experience as well. And during my days in Washington, that was one of the focal points was, and you talked about those private-public partnerships. A lot of them came through in delivering appropriate devices to start connecting kids, especially when you looked at the Seattle School District as an example, since you're out in Seattle. A lot of those children didn't have the devices at home to be able to partake of online education. And so we also got to make sure that we're taking this into consideration as we move forward. As far as the remote workforce goes, we're going to probably be continuing in a hybrid model. As we're emerging at the tail end of the pandemic, and hopefully it's the tail end of the pandemic. I almost feel like I should knock on wood when I say that, but it's also exciting because there's going to be some type of return to work here. But I do believe the fact that the capabilities and the demonstrations that we've shown over the last 15 months that remote work is a possibility. Will continue to go well with us, especially in the IT community, because we're not public facing. Even though we're public sector and we're supporting government activities, we're behind the scenes, and I think that affords us some opportunity to continue to work remotely, unlike maybe some of my sister agencies here in North Carolina that are very much focused on serving the public, and there are times for the public to have to interact with them in brick and mortar locations or whatever the case may be. But again, too, hopefully as we become more digital, not online, but more digital, maybe some of those instances or circumstances for that public interaction can kind of wane a little bit, and we're able to allow our residents to engage in government at any time of the day or night that they would like to do so. But we're going to continue to probably operate in a remote hybrid environment for some time. And we're going to see what those impacts are, and are we able to truly provide the needed IT services as quickly as our agencies are asking for that support as they're coming back, as the public's starting to come back into their buildings and engage them face-to-face on critical service needs.